So acetums are vinegar extracts, and we'll talk about some of those advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages are that we can use them as food. I love making vinegar extracts, especially of mineral-rich plants. I might use dandelion or chickweed, hawthorn berries. Really fun thing to do. This is rose hips that's pictured here. And then we can use that as salad dressing, use it, in a variety of ways of our cooking, which is always fun. Uh, the vinegar extracts have an affinity for the respiratory system. So on Herb Mentor, we have an article on oxymels, which is combining vinegar and honey together. And this is really great for the respiratory tract, respiratory infections, all of that sort of stuff. And vinegar really extracts minerals well, so that's another great advantage to them. The disadvantage to vinegar is that you really can't take it in large quantities. It's so sour. It can be kind of rough on the stomach if you had to take very much of it at all. But it's certainly something to consider with dealing with mineral-rich plants and dealing with something where you just want to start incorporating more nutrition and more well-being into your life. Mineral-rich vinegars are certainly a great way to go. So next up is capsules, and capsules is kind of an interesting thing in the herbal community. There are some herbalists who absolutely 100% refuse to ever take a capsule. I think of Susan Weed. She's a big anti-capsule kind of lady, and there are other herbalists that entirely use capsules and feel like this is the best way to prepare herbs. So again, we're just going to talk about the disadvantages and advantages and work through it. So capsules are basically made by taking plants that have been reduced to a powder and putting them into these little capsules, as seen here. And you can do home encapsulation, so you could make your own herbal pills or own herbal capsules. And there's you can do it one by one, or there's little easy machines you can buy for like less than $20, and you can do more like 50 at a time, for example. You can also buy capsules as well, so those certainly are available pretty widely. So let's talk about the advantages. Why would we want to use a capsule? Some herbalists really like it because you're actually ingesting the entire herb, so you're not extracting it like with water or vinegar or alcohol. You're just actually ingesting the entire herb, and some herbalists feel like that there's a very big advantage to actually using the whole herb. For some people, they just really are not going to take something that tastes bad, and they're just unable or unwilling for whatever reason. And so capsules would be a good reason to do that. They're very convenient, whether you're buying them or making your own. Once they're made, you can travel with them well, you can take them to work, whatever it need be. It's just a matter of swallowing pills. Again, it travels well. You can take it with you, as opposed to like, say, teas, for example. You got to bring this bulky material along, bring tea making supplies, etc. So, the nice thing is that you can travel with it really well. Disadvantages to capsules. I would say the biggest disadvantage is that when you buy capsules, it's very possible that it's very poor herbal quality. And there's different qualities of herbs out there. You might call them there's like your A list of really top quality herbs, and then B list and kind of it might work kind of herbs, and C list, which is basically really poor quality of herbs. So and then who knows how long they've been sitting in that capsule, and on and on. So because of the possible poor quality, it is absolutely imperative, if you're going to buy capsules, that you want to buy them from the best source that you possibly can. And generally this is not Costco, and this is not even your local health food store, unless they are actually stocking really high quality kind of practitioner level capsules. So that's something that you really want to take into consideration, because capsules can be expensive. I think we're probably going to talk about that in a moment. And if you're buying expensive capsules that just kind of have this gray powdery dust inside of them, it's just going to be a waste of money. They can be slow acting. It's relying on your digestive systems. You need to break down those gelatin caps. So it can take a while. Probably not best for acute situations. Or you just have to think ahead. For example, using the sleep reference that we used before, if you're having consecutive, difficulties with going to sleep, you might want to take, capsules to help you sleep, you know, 2 to 4 hours before you actually want to go to sleep, and then you can forget. And so, definitely, slow acting is a disadvantage. Because you're relying on the digestive process to break these down. If someone is not having good digestion, um, then they never even break down the capsules in the first place, and they might never get to the herbal material, in there. I think it's generally recognized that a person with good digestion can break down those capsules, but certainly people out there with weak digestion that just can't do that. So one, we mentioned the advantage to capsules is no taste, but a disadvantage is no taste, because sometimes we are relying on the herb, and the way it tastes. And so if we block that taste sensation, then it can definitely be a disadvantage in terms of blocking the healing properties as well. Um, Also, some with herbs, oftentimes, whether we're cooking with spices or taking tinctures, when we taste an herb, it lets us know like how potent and powerful it is. So again, going back to that possible poor quality, if you're not being able to taste your capsules, then you might not know what is the herb quality that you're experiencing in there anyway. And there's very little herb per capsule. And so if you're trying to take an herb that's got a very high dosage rate, you could be end up taking, many people don't want to take 30, 60 capsules a day. So that definitely becomes something to take into consideration, that there's very little herb per capsule. We mentioned that they can be pretty expensive. You can make your own, and they're definitely a lot less expensive that way. But then again, it's going to be time consuming as well. So when would we want to use capsules? Well, definitely herbs that have low doses. Again, people don't want to be taking 30, 60 capsules a day. So we want herbs that are more potent and that we use in lower dosages. Herbs that don't extract well. Some herbs are just better used as a whole form, and so it just doesn't extract well into whatever means. So we can rely on our digestive system to extract the necessary parts, instead of relying on alcohol or something that just isn't doing the job for this particular plant. Certainly, when we aren't trying to rely on taste, um, we can use capsules for herbs that taste really, really bad. And finally, it's kind of the best herbal medicine is kind of the medicine that people are going to take. And frankly, we live in a pill taking society. People are used to taking pills. People have probably taken pills most of their life. And, that might be, kind of a different or unapproachable thing, for people to take tinctures or tea. So capsules can certainly be a way, to get herbal medicine into people who aren't willing to try out these other methods. Syrups. So syrups are a honey, sugar, and water preparation. You can use either honey or sugar, um, to make this. And again, if you're unfamiliar with making syrups, check out the Herbal Basics section. So this is a very tasty, normally very tasty, herbal preparation, which makes it great for children. Good way to get them to start enjoying herbal, preparations. Really great for things like sore throats. It coats the sore throat. If you can imagine, if you have a sore throat and you look in a herb book and it says, oh, elecampane is, the flower that we're looking at here. So let's say it says elecampane's good for a sore throat, and if you think about taking it as a syrup and that rich honey goodness dripping down and easing the pain in your throat, versus say a capsule. A capsule probably not going to help your sore throat very much. So definitely syrups are good for when we want to kind of coat the mucous membranes, when we want something to taste good, for example, to get children to try it. Disadvantages of syrups, they don't last particularly long time, but usually, you put them in the fridge, they'll last long enough. The other disadvantage could be that it is made with honey and sugar, honey and or sugar, and some people might not be wanting to ingest, those sweeteners, or be, definitely if you're needing to take extremely large doses, then of course we don't want to be, consuming too much of either of those. So that's a quick look at syrups. Another preparation is elixirs. It's usually extracting an herb with alcohol and honey. Generally, these taste really good. I can't think, it's kind of even the word elixir sounds, makes it sound good. So, generally, they're great tasting. The advantages are, well, number one, it's great tasting. The alcohol and the honey combined can have different extraction properties. Really great for, again, for sore throat, something when you want to coat it. The disadvantages, pretty quickly here, can be, the alcohol and honey. People may not be wanting to take alcohol or too much honey, so that could be a consideration. But generally, elixirs are used for kind of fun herbal preparations, but also certainly used for sore throats and that sort of thing as well. Oh, the another great thing about elixirs is that they don't use heat. So if you're making some kind of preparation that you want to preserve the flavonoids, like elderberries, for example, you might want to use an elixir because it's going to extract the berries really well, but leave the flavonoids since the flavonoids are susceptible to heat. Electuaries are basically mixing a powdered herb with honey. You could also mix it with nut butters or coconut oil or ghee, type of butter. So those are all possibilities. And the great thing about electuaries is that you're using the whole herb. Some herbalists really feel strongly about using the whole herb and not extracting it anyway. So you're using the whole herb, but you're doing it, in this mixture that actually, could possibly taste really well. So that's electuaries, and the disadvantages is they can be time consuming to make, and then you're eating this paste. People might not enjoy that. My experience is that they usually taste pretty good. So I like electuaries myself in terms of getting the whole herb and in. Yeah, so they can taste good for certainly, and you're using the whole herb. So that's basically what I had to say on that one. So, in conclusion, here, what have we learned? Well, first of all, I just want to say, know your herbs. At Herb Mentor, the kind of rough setup is that we spend time learning one herb in depth, whether that's one a month or one every couple of months. So it's really important to know your herbs because when you get to know them on a one-to-one basis like that, instead of just trying to memorize a lot of facts, then you really get to know. I know how this herb tastes as a tea. I know how it is as a tincture. I get to experience it in all these different ways, and so you just kind of know how it might work. And it's not that it's going to work only as a tea or only as a tincture. It could work in a variety of ways, and there's disadvantages and advantages to those ways, which we've gone over. But you just get to know those over time. So, really want to encourage people, not to put blanket statements out there like only tinctures are best or capsules are horrible or whatever, but to know the advantages and disadvantages and when you would want to use one method over the other depending on the herb. And that being said, trust your experience. It's you might read in a book that you would never want to take such and such herb as a particular way, but you've been doing that for years and it's worked out great for you. So that's something, don't just trust the books and deny your own personal experience. And just know what that is. And again, that comes back to knowing your herbs and just having a relationship with plants and knowing, how they're working for you. And of course, there are always exceptions. One thing I can think of actually is in the forum somebody was asking about astragalus root. And that's an herb I use a lot in my own life. I really like astragalus. And I've always been taught that really the only way to use astragalus is as a root, or as a decoction because it's a root. So, that's how I always use it. I use it in my bone broths. I use it, with other teas that or other herbs that I'm decocting, like a chai decoction or something like that. And that's how I've been taught to use it by my herbal mentors. And the idea being that this herb comes from China, and that's how it's always been used in China, is as a decoction.